Welcome to the Leesburg Public Library cooking class. I am the Roaming Gourmet Z Carter, and I'm here to do a cookbook review. And of course, cook. I wish you guys were here with me in person so you could sample some of this, but I guess it'll just have to be Debbie and I. So today, my cookbook is that I'm reviewing is going to be Bowls of Plenty, and this is by Carolynn Carreno. I try to look up these the pronunciations of the last names. Sometimes I can find them, sometimes I can't. So I apologize to the author. If I mispronounced it, I try every time because I know how important it is to get these books down right. Before I get really started, I am a chef, a food writer. I also have a cooking school here in downtown Leesburg, Florida. And if you're in the area, come by and join us. We're not even far from the library. We're what, like 6 blocks from the library?
At the most.
Yeah, so we're not far, so I love that. And this book, I always tell Debbie I have books that I can't live without, books I instantly read them. I go and go to Amazon or wherever and I buy the book. And then sometimes I go, oh, okay, at least I know it's at the library in case I want to get it. This is one. I'll add just about any book to my collection, so there's no problem. But I guess these days I'm getting to be more choosy because I'm running out of space. But I can tell you this book is awesome for her sauce recipes. So she has like green goddess and the Thai peanut and stuff like that, which I'm not gonna do because I thought how boring to watch me use the blender. So, but she does go into that. So again, get my notes here. So this book is Bowls of Plenty. The bowls in this book primarily feature a lot of whole grains and wheat berries, things like that. But she also goes into detail about how you can have some of these recipes be gluten-free. So today our recipe is actually going to be gluten-free because you can have a choice of doing a rice with this, a coconut rice. I chose not to do it because of time. So that's one thing about this book. These recipes are not what you say quick and easy. Not at all. If you're a novice cook or you don't have that much cooking experience, prepare to have some time. Don't think you're going to get a 30-minute meal out of this because these are bowls. So there are recipes that you got to do the rice, you got to do the veggies, you got to do the chicken. So they aren't going to be quick recipes, but tasty nonetheless. Plus, they're perfect for parties. Like if you're gonna have friends over and you guys all wanna know what to make and things like that, then this is perfect for that because she has certain sections in here which I will show you that. Like most of these cookbooks today, I think from the 90s forward, the cookbook photography is really nice. If you look at the 80s, the 70s, and 60s cookbooks, everything is like either yellow or it's all green, you know. So these pictures are more vibrant, so I have to give her that much. I love that part. There's also, she breaks this book up into seasons. So let me back up first. This author, Carol, she writes for Savor, New York Times, and her thing was, although she had this hard job of being a food writer, her body suffered because she ate all these from different places and things like that. And she said she would literally go out and eat at one of the best, most finest restaurants wherever she was. It could be San Francisco, New York City, and the next morning have a food hangover. Her body, she'd either be bloated, and I know that because I have a food hangover from the weekend because you're bloated, you're dragging because your body has been trying to keep up with everything that you've eaten over the weekend. And so she said she went to a restaurant and one of the waitresses said, "Oh, how do you manage to stay so thin with this job?" And her friend who was with her says because she eats berries and rice and brown rice and vegetables all week. And you know, he said it so quick and she goes, "You're right, I do." And so that's one of the things that inspired this book. She gives a lot of interesting stories about her recipes and what inspired her and her take on a particular dish or something like that. So I really like that, the insightfulness of the recipes. What I really, really like, because grains are so misunderstood, is that, isn't this pretty? She talks about grains like in depth. And like I said, I feel bad in a certain way for not making grains with our bowls today, but grains, especially whole grains, are not quick and easy. They take 20 to 30 minutes or more. I don't think you guys want to sit here and watch me boiling water and letting stuff soak, you know, things like that. So I encourage you, if you are interested in farro and wheat berry and aramith, these things, buckwheat, get this book because she breaks it down. Bulgur wheat, farro, furkai, and a lot of this stuff, it used to be hard to find, but a lot of these grocery stores, Whole Foods, Aldi, even the major chains, Winn-Dixie or whatever's in your area, they're starting to carry these more and more because there is starting to be a demand. So she really gets into how to cook them. So I like the sections in the book. Not only does she breaks it down into 4 different sections, but she also lets you know that, hey, this recipe is best in the winter because you're going to find these things, pomegranate, things like that. Or she'll say, hey, this recipe is going to taste best in the summer because the ingredients that are in this particular bowl are going to be tastiest or more readily available during that time of the year. So if you're going to get a recipe, make sure you read her little tidbit about it because she's really going to give you some helpful hints in making the recipe. So the book is broken down into basic 4 chapters. There's breakfast bowls. So there's the breakfast bowl. I think it's really pretty. And I like the breakfast bowls because they are sweet and savory. Breakfast is not always sweet. I have to tell myself that. And I really like this recipe. So I did copy this for myself. And this is with slow roasted tomatoes. And so I thought that was really cool. And, oh, wait a minute, let me show you one more picture and then one more chapter, and then I'm gonna skip and I'm gonna start our recipe so we can let our tofu, yes, we're making tofu, marinate, and then I'll come back and finish. So the next one is main bowls. So main bowls is one, and there's not a picture here, but here you go. Sambal tofu quinoa bowl. But this is not the one that we're making. I want to show you the one that we're going to make, which is chicken or tofu saute bowl. So we're going to do tofu saute. And Debbie can tell you that most of the time when I try a recipe, it's high curiosity because I'm like, I really want to know what that tastes like. So that was going to be, this is the one that I'm really curious about. So it's like 2 parts. Well, it's actually 3 parts because remember there's a bowl. So I said that there's grains, vegetables, and the main like protein. And so it's not quick. So we're going to skip the coconut rice, but we are going to do the tofu, and there's a cucumber salad. So we're going to do those 2 things. So the first thing we need to do is we need to cut up our tofu. So I've got some firm tofu here, and that's definitely the one you want to use. So this is a saute. So sautés usually are thin strips of meat that are put on a skewer. That's the other thing we're not going to do. I want people to be able to do a recipe and not feel obligated to every little small detail. You know what I mean? I don't want that part of the recipe to stop you from doing it because you're like, I don't have bamboo sticks, so what? Because we're just gonna take this and saute it anyways. So I'm just cutting these up into equal size cubes here because that's gonna be important when we cook it. So I'm just trying to get it all together here. And please believe you definitely want firm tofu. And because this is kind of like a bowl, a salad bowl, just got little chunks like that because we want it to be salad bowl friendly, right? We don't want it so, the piece is so thick that you can't enjoy it. Okay, so now that is all cut up. See how hard that wasn't? And the recipe calls for about 12 to 14 ounces, so it's just regular one size brick of tofu. So you're gonna put a half a cup of coconut milk. And you always wanna make sure you stir this up pretty good. I mean, shake it up pretty good because the fat from the coconut milk, you don't want it to separate in the can. So if it comes out and it looks real watery, then that means that you didn't shake it up. You need to shake it up and get that fat and everything going in there. So then I have some yellow curry. And then we need 2 tablespoons of fish sauce. So 1. And all of these things are important in a dish because they add to the flavor. It may not seem like a lot, but those things are important to the dish. And then you want about a teaspoon of salt, and that's what we got in there. So we're gonna whisk this all together. In the recipe, it says you can do this like in a baking dish, a glass baking dish or something like that. And they say that because they want you to be able to sit all your tofu in there. This is my marinade bowl, so I just used my marinade bowl. So we're just gonna slide this tofu down in here and let it marinate. And if someone tells you that they don't like tofu, then say, well, you don't like anything, because that's what this tastes like, nothing. I always hear people say, I don't like tofu, and I'm like, why? It doesn't taste like anything, you know what I mean? So.
I always think it's because people haven't tried it yet.
Exactly, you haven't tried it. But there's some people that texture is an issue, and I get that. But if that's your only thing keeping you from tofu, then you're missing out on a lot. So I've got that in here. And like I said, this is my handy dandy marinating bowl anyway. So that's the coconut milk and curry with the fish sauce. And believe me, all of these flavors are gonna play off of one another. And so we're gonna let all of those things kind of soak in there together. And you can also, this recipe is chicken or tofu. So you can do the same thing with the chicken. If you are going to use tofu and chicken, don't marinate them together because you don't want to get salmonella or anything like that. So you want to just take this mixture, the marinade mixture, and halfen it up and do half chicken and half tofu. And you never ever want to put your vegetables, raw chicken marinates by itself period. So that's how I can solve that little issue of marinating it by itself. Okay, so back to our recipe in our book here. The next two chapters here are the mains, which we just talked about the mains, and then I skipped over salads. So there's breakfast, then there's salad bowls. So you see the salads. So I think this recipe should have been in the salad bowl, but it wasn't. It was in the main. And the salads are really good because there's greens and grains together. So these are salads that are you're going to be full. They're not just like those fufu salads that nobody wants. And she even talks about that. She's like, you know, people want to eat, they want to be satisfied, and they don't want to feel like they just ate for the nutritional value. She said she also wanted to know that it was pretty, you know, it was something that she was actually going to enjoy first, and then it had good nutritional value was her third thing. So I liked the way she thought. So this is a really pretty one with the salmon, and she has another salmon dish in here that's for breakfast. Also, the recipes cross genres. So she might have a Japanese recipe and an Asian recipe, Indian inspired recipe. So the recipes float all over the place. So I could really appreciate that about this book as well. Don't be afraid to substitute ingredients in here. She says that a lot. There's a recipe in here for a pomegranate salad, and right now, even though you can get them, they're not always so easy to find, or they might not be the best price because this is not really pomegranate season, which is more towards the fall and the winter. So she goes, don't put the pomegranates in there. Use, it was cherry tomatoes. And that's going to give you a nice burst, and it's going to give you a burst of flavor because tomatoes have that like sharpness that also the pomegranate is going to give you that sharp bite. So do tomatoes. So I thought that was a good substitution. Also, remember when I was telling you about this is good for parties and stuff like that? So she takes all the ingredients here. And here is your build your own farmer's market ingredient bowl thing here. So I like that. You can get it all together and call friends over, you know. So Debbie, we can set this up on our next lunch date. And final, last but not least, my favorite chapter of most cookbooks. You all know what I'm referring to. That would be the desserts. You know what, Debbie? And I have a prayer, and I hope God listens to my prayer. I said, Lord, please knock this love of sweets taste out of my mouth. Just slap it clean out. And I'm just waiting for him to answer my prayer, dear Heavenly Father. I said, just make it be nasty, Lord. So until then, this is desserts. And the desserts feature grains. Debbie's chuckling. I did. Isn't that sad? I said, knock it clean out, Jesus. I'm just, okay. As I'm talking to my double chin. But I thought this was so, at first I was like, nah. But then I was like, intriguing. And the only reason why I didn't make it, because it is made with a grain, well, actually a seed, because it's made with black rice. So, which is actually a seed, and black wild rice, and it's not going to be quick to cook, but it's beautiful. So it's black rice pudding. Isn't that beautiful? With mango, with mango and macadamia nuts. So can you just imagine those macadamia nuts and that nutty wild rice? Then she has a whole berry mix. Mixed berry crisp with whole grain crisp topping. So again, like I said, she incorporates those whole grains all throughout this book. And then I wanted you guys to just see this lady, because again, they were saying, how do you stay so thin? And she says, I wasn't trying to be skinny, I was just trying to be healthy. And that is the end. She said, this is just, you know, I stay like this. I don't think it was from eating all these grains. No, I'm just kidding. It probably was. But, you know, she says that's how she manages to stay healthy in between her job. And I have to attest, and I can second the motion, that being a food writer is not easy. And eating the different foods from different restaurants isn't an easy job. So now I'm gonna do the cucumber salad real quick. We have rice vinegar. I have a shishito pepper. They have, she has another kind of pepper in there, but I chose to use that one because I have to eat it. Substitute. And then she also had like a hot sauce, but because I'm using this pepper and I'm going to de-seed some of it, I thought this is enough spice for me. And again, don't be afraid to substitute stuff. Don't let a recipe because of one ingredient make you not try it. Because there's recipes you go, oh, I would eat that except for the one thing. And that may not be something that's gonna totally make or break that. And she mentions that too in here. So like I said, don't be afraid to substitute ingredients. So I'm just gonna partially seed this pepper, de-seed it. And we all know that taking the white and the seeds out will make these peppers turn down any heat that's associated with it. So, and this is going to go inside of our cucumber salad. She also has like a Parisian cucumber. Okay, here's another substitution. I just used thin skin, and I know that was her reason behind the cucumber. Is she was in, I think, San Francisco or New York City. She had those farmers markets. So she had all those different ingredients available to her. And also a thinner skin. So your typical conventional cucumbers, their skin's really thick. So if you're marinating them like in a vinegar or something like that, then that's gonna kind of prohibit that waxy thick skin. It's gonna prohibit that absorption. So you don't wanna mess around with a thicker skin one. So little mini thin skin pickling cucumbers are really good for that. This yellow onion is huge. So let me take this out of the way so you guys can see. I'm just gonna cut little moons. So I'm only gonna do like a quarter of this onion. So I think anytime you put red onion in a recipe, they are strong and it doesn't take much. So I'm gonna actually take that end off because I just want my, and we're just gonna cut really thin half slices. That's what I'm doing, just really thin. And you don't need a lot. If you don't like a lot of onions, then don't put a lot of onions. And her recipe is like a half of an onion. I think that's a bit much. Especially if you plan on having that. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. I need to mix up my marinade. That's why I didn't mean to do that. Especially if you might want to have this for lunch. Nobody wants to go back from lunch smelling and having offensive breath. So we'll go easy on that. Let me use this plate for my ingredients. So that's that. And then we're just gonna thinly slice the cucumbers. And you can slice them however you want. She has little circles. All we really want to do is just get that, let the vinegar, excuse me, absorb into the cucumber so you get that little cucumberly bite. There is also a Thai peanut sauce that you can have or not have with this as well. But I think even just like I'm doing, just taking the essence of these recipes, taking little sections of it and adjusting it for your own taste is good too. And it's also good if you just want, if you're tired of different side, you know, you want a different side, or you just want a just cucumber salad for lunch or something like that, you know, something different. So, one more cucumber. And like I said, these are kind of thin because I want that vinegar, that rice vinegar to go right in there. So that's that. And we're gonna put a little bit of, we're gonna do some sugar. And if you don't like stuff sweet, you don't have to make it sweet. Some salt. And our rice vinegar. And if you want proper portions of what goes in here, just get the cookbook. So we stir that up. And using the rice vinegar, I like rice vinegar because it's not as tangy and sharp. It's a little milder. And especially for a little fresh salad like this. We're gonna throw this in there. And you can add more slices of pepper, and you definitely can put the seeds in if you wanna get that sweet hot. But you just whisk it around till it dissolves, and it's gonna dissolve. Then we'll stick the onions in there. Now, here's a little trick. If you want your onions to be a little bit more mild and you really, really enjoy onions like I do, you can actually take those red onions and soak them in about that amount that I had. I would just fill the little bowl up until water covered it and squeeze a half of a lime or a lemon in there and let that sit for like 10 minutes. And your onion won't be as rash. It'll tone it down some for you. Okay, so we get our cucumbers in here. And I put the whole cucumber in here because these little baby cucumbers are really, they're really easy. I just ate one before class. I just ate it because they're so, you know, the skin and stuff is so good. I ate the whole thing, so don't be afraid to use it from top to bottom. We're just gonna let that soak. And you can make this up to like a week ahead of time. Yeah, and just as long as you sit it in the refrigerator, it's just gonna marinate. So you can just leave it in there and let it marinate. So I'm gonna let that sit there, right? And then remember that tofu that we had marinating over here? We're gonna go back to it. And we're gonna use a neutral oil. So, I'm not gonna let you see the brand. I used olive oil. You can use canola, any oil that's not a flavored oil, because remember, tofu tastes like what you make it taste like. So the neutral oil is gonna let this curry and coconut shine through this. If you're making a saute, then you could put this, if you were making it traditionally, you could put bamboo skewers on this, heat up your griddle or your grill, and you can actually lay it on there and let it cook until you actually get grill marks. We're gonna saute this saute. And because like I said, I want people to feel like this recipe can be replicated and still taste just as delicious. And it's Florida. Our barbecue season just ended. I don't know if anybody else who lives here can attest to that. It's the end of barbecuing season because things just got hot. Got crazy hot for us. So the pan is hot. I'm letting the oil heat up even further because we want this to be hot and quick for these things. In the interim, I'm trying to open up this. Do they want people in these containers? Okay, my oil is hot. I'm gonna just, not with the marinade, I'm just gonna put my tofu in, but like I said, I'm not gonna dump it in. Because I don't want all that. Now, if you were using a griddle, you would just take your skewered bamboo, your bamboo skewers with your tofu on it and just lay it across the grill. And you would definitely want to make sure that your grill was oiled because coconut milk has a little bit of sugar in it. It smells so good, doesn't it? I knew it was going to smell tasty. This is so easy. So I got this on maximum sear. And we're just going to let those brown, the coconut and the curry together. Just smells so good. Now, like I said, this recipe as a complete bowl also had coconut rice, and she's really good. There's not white rice in here. She uses whole grain, so it's a brown rice. And because it's a brown rice, it is going to take a little bit longer than conventional white rice. Even though they've started to make brown rice that cooks a little bit quicker. So I'm just gonna let that sear some, burn off some of this milk here. While that's doing that, we're gonna take our little dish here that we made, the cucumbers. Looking right at it, can't say it. We're gonna take that and put that in a bowl. Now, of course, the longer you let it sit, the better off it is that it's gonna absorb all of that. That's why I think this makes a really good lunch thing, because you can let it sit in the coconut oil, you know, even for lunch. The vinegar for lunch. So that even makes it taste a little bit better. But these are thin skinned, so believe me, that rice vinegar is in there. And it's so pretty with the onions too, all that color. Oops, I'm making a mess. I'm actually gonna take this home and share it too. I already told my husband this. He likes tofu, so this sounded like something he would want to eat. So I have our little thing. The recipe, she tells you to put the peanut sauce down at the bottom of the bowl, the coconut rice, and then we would do the tofu and the cucumber salad on there. That would be the complete bowl. So we're just gonna flip this over once, and then do several at a time. And all you want to do is just kind of saute out that water. Doesn't it? I think it's awesome. It's getting away from me, one of them. You don't have to do all 4 sides. You just want to cook out most of the liquid so that the tofu is starts to firm up like this and has a little caramelization. Just really try to get a piece so you can really see it. Just starting to brown and get caramelized. And you can hear that sauce is starting to cook away. So don't, you know, you don't have bamboo skewers, it's okay, of course. That's how she would want you to do it. But just a flip on both sides, cooking out the liquid. That's what you really want on here. So I know we're gonna do a little Q&A, so if you have any questions, I welcome them. If the question is, does this smell heavenly? The answer is yeah. Doesn't it smell good? And it looks good too. So if you have rice left over from another dish, then this would be perfect. If you have rice left over, then definitely use this saute with the tofu. Or if you're tired of meat for the week, this will do it. There's a lot of good protein in tofu. And this part is quick and easy, for sure. And I noticed too, I started to see some boil in the bag whole grains. I think it's like a five grain blend or something like that. So I was just thinking about that. There are some like quick whole grain things. So my tofu is all nice and seared and caramelized here. It is so pretty. And all of that liquid is gone. So it has absorbed all of the flavor. So now I can put that in our bowls here. Make it, it's floating away from me. I know this is going to be so good. Look at that. So pretty. That's yours, Debbie.
It's mine.
Yes. Here's a fork down below. Yeah, and it's so pretty and quick. I love that's what got me, is that part, the quick. So if it was the full bowl, it would have the coconut rice and the Thai peanut sauce. So you can still try it with the Thai peanut sauce. All of the recipes are in the book. This book, I like it, but I just want to say that there's work involved. It is not a quick recipe book. You're going to do some work because whole grains just are, but it is worth the read. And so I'm glad that it's at the library. I know where it is, for sure, for sure. So thank you for joining me. I am glad that you were here, and I look forward to seeing you the next time. Thank you.